Hello, I'm Mike DeSimone with another Tomorrow's World webcast. The LA Times published a piece about the refugee crisis in the EU. It was titled, "Why Borders Matter and a Borderless World is a Fantasy." An op-ed piece by Victor Hansen, actually. He says, quote, "With Muslim refugees flooding into the European Union from the Middle East and with terrorism on the rise, a popular revolt is taking shape against the so-called Schengen area agreements, which give free rights of movement, and that is without passports and so forth, within Europe. The European masses are not racists," he said, "but they now apparently wish to accept Middle Eastern immigrants only to the degree that these newcomers arrive legally and promise to become European in values and outlook. Protocols that the EU essentially discarded decades ago as intolerant." See, there's this idea among the elites, as he calls them in the article, that all people should be able to immigrate from their homeland to another's homeland freely and easily without assimilation. This is exactly what's been happening in Europe, and in a large way, we felt the same pressure in the U.S. The author goes on, "The left continues to cherish the vision of a borderless world as morally superior, a triumph over artificially imposed difference. Yet the truth is that formal borders do not create difference, they reflect it," the author says. "These elites' continued attempts to erase borders are both futile and destructive." He goes on, "Borders are to distinct countries what fences are to neighbors. Means of demarcating that something on one side is different from what lies on the other side." So while these elites brush aside truly thousands of years of proven principles of governance and form policy to create one big homogeneous society because of their own moral superiority, only to end up learning that it doesn't work out that well, what God said from the beginning is right on. A couple of succinct verses come to mind. One is Deuteronomy 32, verse 8, where he says, "When the Most High divided their inheritance to the nations, when he separated the sons of Adam, he set the boundaries of the peoples." And then in Acts 17, verse 26, "And he has made from one blood every nation of men to dwell on all the face of the earth, and has determined their pre-appointed times and boundaries of their dwellings." See, the problem we're talking about is not so much about people immigrating from one place to another to find a better life, which has happened for millennia. It's about the unwillingness of these elites to accept that mixing deep-rooted cultures and languages without certain degrees of assimilation is a really bad plan. That's what we're talking about. And I want to close with a comment that's actually at the beginning of the article. He says, "Europeans, and I might add the world, are relearning that the continent's external borders mark off very different approaches of culture and society." Again, while we kick and fight against another biblical principle, only to eventually learn it the hard way, God has owned it since the beginning. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to our YouTube channel or follow us on Facebook or Twitter.